In 1942, the 20-year-old Onoda was drafted into the infantry, where he first became a sergeant and then, after incomplete training, became the commander of a reconnaissance and sabotage unit. In this position, he was thrown into the Philippines, where he was to lead a sabotage group behind American lines. Before the start of this operation, an order was sounded by the command, which determined the future of the young saboteur, at any cost to continue to fulfill the assigned tasks, even if communication with the main forces will be lost for years. Onoda was given the rank of junior lieutenant and sent to the island of Lubang, Philippines. There was to bring in order not two motivated fighters, but to do this Scout did not have time, because it was then the Americans landed on the island, which eliminated or captured potential wards Hiroo. Then the young saboteur together with 3 soldiers went into the jungle to prepare sabotage. It was the end of February 1945. In 6 months Japan would capitulate, but not everyone would know it. Numerous groups of Japanese soldiers had no connection with the main forces and continued to resist, mainly in the jungle. The Americans began to scatter leaflets over them, informing them that, take your overcoat and go home, and some even believed it for their own good. But Onoda was a patriot and saboteur to the bone, and knew that the evil enemies would try to misinform the soldiers of the divine Mikado, so he did not give in to provocation. So it went on for 5 years, until one of his fighters ran out of patience and surrendered to the Philippine authorities. His name was Yuichi Akatsu, and when he arrived in Japan, he reported that the unit that everyone thought was dead was still alive. It must be said that this was not the only such group, and the authorities even created a special commission to extract the deep-seated groups outside. However, it was difficult to extract them, as they were hiding mostly in the jungle. At the same time, the soldiers were slowly dying, so you could never distinguish between unsuccessful searches and searches that could not succeed. In 1954, 9 years after Japan's surrender, Onoda's 3-man squad fought with local police. One of the Japanese was killed, but it became clear to Japan that Onoda's group existed. Again the search began, and again it ended in nothing, despite its length. Another 15 years passed. Another 15 years. 1969, the horrors of World War II have already begun to be forgotten. The world is outraged by the mostly American invasion of Vietnam, the streets are walking hairy, rattles new age rock music, in the US raging, Summer of Love, and 47-year-old Onoda, along with his soldiers received the Order of the Rising Sun posthumously. For they were never found, and were declared dead. But in 1972, it became known that Onoda and his subordinate were alive. He had tried to commit sabotage by attacking Filipino policemen, but his last comrade was killed in the firefight. In the end, by the age of 50, Onoda was alone. Again, Japan sends a team to search for him, and again unsuccessfully. In general, sometimes it seems that if the authorities take up something, they do it in the worst possible way. I would like to say, if you want an idea to fail, entrust its realization to the authorities. And so it was with the search. After so many years of numerous fruitless attempts to find Onoda, the problem was elementarily solved by Japanese adventurer Norio Suzuki. In 1974, he simply went to the island and found the elusive Japanese man. He also interviewed him and took a photo. But he couldn't go back, because he didn't know what the rascal was saying. Onoda needed an order, and there was no order to stop the resistance. So the Japanese authorities had to find Onoda's former commander and bring him to the island to personally order him to lay down his arms and surrender to the Americans or their allies. Well, they would have said so right away, Onoda apparently thought, and complied with the order, going to an American radar station on the island. He had grenades, a rifle, ammunition, a dagger and a samurai sword with him. The Philippine authorities were somewhat uncomfortable. Judge for yourself. During his 30 years on the island, Onoda and his companions committed a lot of criminal acts, which led to the deaths of 30 people, about 100 more were wounded. At the same time, one could not but praise Onoda's courage, and the Philippine government did not want to spoil relations with a very different Japan. Negotiations with the Japanese ensued and Onoda was sent home, returning his weapons and even commending his loyalty to his military duty. Understandably, at home, Onoda made a sensation. However, the reaction was mixed. Some admired the indomitable saboteur, while others considered him a war criminal. It all depended on one's political views. But the emperor took Onoda favorably and even invited him to a reception. Hiroo in turn refused, saying that he did not deserve the honor of being accepted by the descendant of the sun goddess Amaterasu and that he was just doing his duty. The Japanese cabinet awarded Onoda the sum of 1 million yen, about 3.5 thousand greenbacks, plus a lot of money collected by Onoda's admirers, of whom there were many in Japan. But Hiroo, taking this money, donated it to the Shinto shrine Yasukuni, where the souls of warriors who gave their lives for Japan are worshipped. After that, Onoda became a true star and the most respected survivalist in Japan. He began exposing this art to young people and teaching them how to interact with nature. He did not accept the new realities, he perceived the course of democratization of society as a cult of the golden calf, but he did not go into politics, doing what he knew how to do. Onoda explained his elusiveness very simply. He had learned to recognize the voices of birds, distinguishing alarm cries from simple bird conversations. Therefore, when strangers approached, he instantly hid, and remained elusive neither for Japanese search teams, nor for US soldiers, nor for the Philippine Special Forces, which, by the way, has a very good reputation. His main food was local plants and rats, on which he set snares. In addition, he made annual raids on peasant farms, stealing cows. They were slaughtered in the jungle, the meat dried and the fat used to lubricate his weapons. Of course, he also found the English language press, which spoke of post-war life. Of course, he could not but realize that the events described in them, including Japanese events, were too clever to be propaganda, especially for a few saboteurs. Therefore, he came to the conclusion that Japan was like himself and simply could not surrender and admit defeat. Onoda believed that modern Tokyo was simply populated by traitors and collaborators, while the true government continued its resistance in Manchuria. As for the Korean and Vietnamese wars, Onoda saw them as a continuation of World War II and associated the North Koreans and Communist Vietnamese with the Japanese. Be that as it may, when he realized he was wrong, no depression followed. And no post-traumatic stress syndrome, either. Onoda lived in the jungle for 30 years only because he believed in his duty, which was his core, and this core did not fail him in civilian life. Onoda used his knowledge of nature to socialize young people. He was so successful in this field that the government honored him with prestigious awards. The indomitable warrior lived for 92 years, passing away in 2014.